Okay, stop negative self-talk. Listen, you have to stop treating yourself like you're worthless. You have to stop tearing yourself down with your own words, with that constant, unrelenting criticism that follows you like a shadow. You wouldn't dare speak to your closest friend the way you speak to yourself in the recesses of your own mind. And yet, you let that voice, the voice that undermines you, that diminishes you, run rampant, unchecked, as if it had your best interests at heart. It doesn't. It's a liar. And the longer you let it govern your life, the further you'll drift from who you could be. See, the problem with negative self-talk is that it operates in the background like a corrupt software program. It infects your confidence, your potential, and your very ability to move forward in the world. It convinces you, falsely, that you are not good enough, that you'll fail, that you're an imposter, that you don't deserve anything better. And what happens when you believe those things? You act as if they are true. You stop taking risks. You avoid challenges. You shrink away from opportunities. You reinforce the very thing that's keeping you down. But let's get one thing straight. That voice is not you. It might sound like you, but it isn't. It's a combination of all the voices you've absorbed over the years, maybe from parents who were too critical, from teachers who didn't believe in you, from peers who mocked you. It's the accumulation of disappointments, of failures, of all the times you fell short. And instead of treating those as lessons, as stepping stones towards something greater, you let them define you. But you don't have to. You can change that. And you must. The first thing you need to understand is that self-criticism is not the same as self-improvement. People think that if they're hard on themselves, they'll somehow become better. Nonsense. Constructive criticism, yes. Self-reflection, absolutely. But unrelenting self-abuse, that only leads to despair. It paralyzes you. It convinces you that you shouldn't even try. And if you don't try, you don't grow. And if you don't grow, you don't live. You have to recognize the distinction between acknowledging your flaws and weaponizing them against yourself. One leads to improvement, the other leads to destruction. You need to observe your thoughts with a sense of detachment, almost like an outsider looking in. Ask yourself, would I say this to a child, to a friend who is struggling? If not, then why do you allow that voice to speak to you in such a demeaning way? So what do? Well, first you start listening. Pay attention to the words you tell yourself. Write them down if you have to. Are they helping you or hurting you? Are they motivating you or suffocating you? Would you say those things to someone you love? If the answer is no, then why do you tolerate them in your own mind? You have to understand that words shape reality. The words you speak to yourself, the stories you tell yourself, they determine how you see the world and how you act within it. If you keep telling yourself you're a failure, guess what? You're going to act like one. You're going to avoid situations where you could prove otherwise. You're going to let fear dictate your decisions. And that will reinforce the very belief that's destroying you. So you need to fight back. You need to develop an internal voice that stands up to the tyrant in your mind. That doesn't mean you lie to yourself and pretend everything is fine when it isn't. No, it means you adopt a voice that is firm, honest, but encouraging. One that says, all right, you've made mistakes, fine. Everyone has. But you are not your mistakes. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by what you choose to do now. And that choice, that's everything. Because if you choose to challenge your negative self-talk, you start to change it. If you start to change it, you start to act differently. If you act differently, you build momentum. And once you build momentum, you're unstoppable. The world is already full of people who will criticize you, who will doubt you, who will try to hold you back. Don't be one of them. If you're going to have an inner voice, and you are, make sure it's one that stands on your side, one that pushes you forward rather than drags you down. Because the alternative is a life of regret And you don't want that. You need to establish a practice, a disciplined approach to counteracting these negative patterns. Start by catching yourself in the act. Every time you notice a negative thought creeping in, stop it, interrupt it. Replace it with something constructive. Instead of, I'm a failure, say, I'm learning. Instead of, I'll never get better, say, I am improving every day. Do this repeatedly, consistently, and with genuine effort, and you will start to see a transformation. You are not helpless. You are not doomed to be a prisoner of your own thoughts. You are capable of rewriting the script, of taking charge of the narrative that plays in your mind. And that is where true strength lies. Not in avoiding difficulty, but in confronting it, mastering it, and coming out the other side stronger than before. Your mind is the lens through which you experience the world. If that lens is clouded with negativity, everything you encounter will be distorted. But if you can clean that lens, if you can shift your perspective, the world itself will start to change before your very eyes. Take control of your self-talk. Train it, shape it, mold it into something that builds you up rather than tears you down. Because if you don't take charge of that voice, it will take charge of you. And that is a battle you cannot afford to lose. So start today, start now. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you are responsible for helping. Because you are. You are responsible for you. And if you're going to make something of yourself in this world, you'd better start acting like it.